Right. Hello, everybody. I think we're live. I think we're live. My earpluggery thing has gone a bit dead. I can't hear the crowd. Where are you, crowd?
Oh,
Well,
right.
who cares? You are there somewhere, I'm sure. Okay, welcome everybody to Metaworld News. I am Mal Burns. That's MAL for first name and BURNS the second name. And you can find me, and there's a reason for this, as I will explain shortly. You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/malburns. But as is common everywhere on the interwebs, I'm getting squashed. They squash you here, they squash you there, they squash you everywhere. I hear a song
Everywhere.
coming on, but I can't remember the tune. Right. So, twitter.com/malbones, MALBURNS. There's an additional feed, nothing much on it this week actually, for this show itself, which is twitter.com/metaworld news. And guess what? They've squashed those two words together too. Disgusting, that's what I say.
Hmm.
Right, okay. And you will actually see that link right on the screen at this very moment,
I-
because I just happened to turn my head around and I've seen the monitor. Gosh golly. Right, okay. I'm joined, of course, here in the studio, behind the news desk, as it were. Right, actually, there's two of them. There's another one in the audience, but we'll forget about the other bloke. We'll forget about
right.
the other bloke. It's none other than James Atloud. Welcome, James.
Well, thank you, Mal. Everybody needs to have a good doppelganger, I would say.
Yeah,
How can you get along in the day without a good doppelganger?
I don't think you can really.
Yeah, yeah.
They call them alts, don't they?
Oh, yeah? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Alts.
second in their second life, they invented this name called an alt.
Right,
I
right.
think it means alternative or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I presume it must do. Yeah. So yeah.
Yep.
Occasionally, I have a second avatar. He doesn't look really much like the first one, but he's called Footman, but he's actually cameraman, if you see what I mean.
Cameraman, got it.
He's, but he's sort of been he's been buried underground, not because of COVID, but for about 10 years, has no function, but he still exists, which is.
Ah,
Anyway, over to you. I see you've got your mask on, and you've got a sort of a. It's not jumping up and down, but it's quite a colourful shirt you've got on
yeah,
this
yeah,
week.
yeah. Yeah, this is a hoodie from the producer is Real store, and it's in relation to the alcohol in Mexico, Cerveza Victoria. And so this is an event that's happening in Sansar called Perero. And so I think it's a music event happening on I think July 2nd was the date that I saw. But I like the hoodie. I always love a good hoodie.
Yeah.
So this was a nice new
Yeah.
and the best part is the hoodie was free. And I love things that are free.
Ah, yes, there we all. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, and it is, well, fairly loud, as in,
Fairly. Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, as is necessary. It
Right.
needs to be loud for out loud, doesn't it?
It
Right,
does.
okay, very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen at home, what you can't see is James is fiddling with knobs. Yes. Yeah, he's got all these knobs that he can put his fingers on at any moment and twiddle with them and rub them and do all sorts of things with them because basically he's the video king. He is mixing my desktop with my avatar and his avatar and other angles and all sorts of stuff that video people do. So well done, James.
All
He's
right.
on video too. He's gone quiet. I think there's something to do with my phraseology just now.
I'm just pushing buttons,
Okay,
Mal. Just pushing buttons.
fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Yes, I wish I'd been twiddling the knobs here. Actually, when was it? Not yesterday, Friday.
Huh?
Might show up. I came to one of the Universal things here. In
Oh, okay.
Sansar, which was very interesting because all the main Sansar group are here too, and also CP Austin and somebody else. So at least two of them who do camera work were also on the panel.
Mm.
Um, which might explain why I thought it was being filmed, but I haven't been there. I think they thought it was being filmed, but I found no choice of it. And if I'd known, I could have fired up my camera and filmed it for them.
Oh,
But never
right,
mind,
right.
because it was actually a really interesting talk. There was Lacey, and then there was Zero Cheese, and there was TP Austin, a couple of others whose names I forget, but and yeah, Dr. Fram was in the audience too. So yeah, it was good. It's well attended, and they have a really nice theatre. I'm going to try and get a copy of it because it would be very good. Not so much for a news desk like this, but a panel show, because they, the little stalls and convention. But it was
Yeah, yeah.
also not an amphitheatre, but it's an enclosed theatre too, a bit like our set here. Anyway, I'll go into that later as later is. And as I said, you find me on Twitter, twitter.com/malburns, which is where I provide links to not only the stories I'm going to be talking about today, but also plenty of other ones besides, and of course the Metaworld News too. But all the ones today are at the Malburns account, basically. Um, so what have I forgotten? Oh, I know what I've forgotten. It's the date.
Just the date.
It's the 30th. Yes, it's a nice round figure, but these are headlines for the week ending today. And today is the 30th of May 21,
Goodness.
which of course raises the horrifying prospect that when we come on air next week, it's already going to be June.
True.
There's something weird.
I'm
There's
duly
something weird.
horrified. Yeah.
I know there's something weird going on at the moment. Our sense of time and everything else. It just doesn't seem to. If it wasn't for a slight difference in temperature, it's like winter rolls into spring, rolls into summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, I mean, we had subarctic conditions about 10 days ago, which
Right.
you don't get in there. Anyway, yeah, 30th of May. So it will be our last show for this month. Come what may. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
Forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Get it or forget it. Right.
The Ides of
Okay.
March.
Enough.
Right.
Enough of my wits.
All right.
Right. Come what June. No, that's
Doesn't.
okay. So I'm going to start where we normally start, in fact, and I'm going to go to a site called skardghost.com, SKARREDGHOST.com.
And there
And
was the
although I
howl.
probably won't, yeah, I was going to say, although I probably won't hear it, there might actually be a howl going on there. Yeah, this basically is a roundup. It's published on May 24th, but it's a roundup of the week before. So it's the sort of week we actually covered on last week's show. But he does a good job of rounding stuff up. He opens the article with the Ore nights in Florence, which of
Mm.
course is where he's based, I think. And well, I basically plug in to stuff, talks he was doing in Italian, but they're all gone by now anyway. And then there's the top news of the week: Snaps, news, spectacles, and Oculus Quest's getting updates. Does get them every other week. A good way of staying in the news, I suppose. And Quest 2 has been recalled from Amazon in Europe because of skin irritation issues. Thank God I didn't buy one of those after all.
Mm.
And also the suggestion that Facebook might actually be losing $100 on every Quest 2 they're selling, such is their desire to get the product out, even if it does irritate your skin. So who knows? Who knows? We all know it's running that show, so maybe we do know.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, assistive touch feature has just been updated in the Apple Watch, which lets you interact with things by clenching and pinching your hand. I'm not great. It's not very clear as to what it actually connects with. Yes, but I think it's something Facebook are working on too. But what they're doing is separate. And yeah, anyway, quite a load of news there. As you can see, I'm sort of scrolling down and then scrolling back up again. It's really just a catch-up thing. There will be another edition tomorrow, no doubt, so it's worth considering ScardGhost.com for roundup every week. And during the course of the week, there have been a few other posts from him anyway, which we've got tagged here, which is quite interesting as well. So on that note, I'm going to move on. And we're heading all the way over to Forbes. Now,
Mm.
I'm never sure whether Kathy Hackey's post here has actually got a regular day or not. So it seems to me that her post and Charlie Fink's post, weekly roundup, came out within at least a day of each other last week. But this week, her post was up really early in the week, whereas Charlie's was reserved for yesterday or Friday. Anyway, this is Kathy Hackey's roundup, Metaverse Weekly news from all the corners of the Metaverse. She talks about Billboard Music Awards, which have a VR connection too. Also about the new Snap spectacles that every blog's covered really. Dimension Studio. These are more to do with cinema, virtual reality, and anything else. Um, Aldi, Hollow Rides launch NFTs and use Elrond blockchain. Sure, they're not calling it Elrond Multiverse yet, but who knows? 2 days, I should think. And oh yes, yeah, we I think we have the video for this, so I'll give you the link later. Um, but the co-founder of Twitter and one of Roomkey's major investors, Biz Stone, had an interview midweek in none less than Roomkey, with a thing called the Social Entrepreneurial Festival. But they were talking largely about VR and even got a Second Life got a sort of mention in there.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, remember he's tangentially involved with Twitter still, but they were having an off the record talk. Well, it was on record, sorry, but an informal talk, and interesting to know, to see that he'd been following these things, for a considerable time. Less so now, actually, but back in the early days of Twitter, he was. It brought back to mind that I was a beta tester on Twitter
Mm.
that long, long time ago, and in fact, I my memory is getting really, really bad these days. But I think it's fair to say that the first time I went in Second Life, or at least with I managed to register an avatar and have a graphics card that could handle the job. I think I registered a lot earlier. Was to attend our weekly Twitter meetups, we used to call them,
Mm.
and a lot of the people that are prominent now, or either that or have disappeared completely. Used to be at those little meetups. I mean, people like Mitch Wagner, who was Ziggy Figaro, I think his avatar used to be called. Nick Wilson, who convened them. Um, he's not around anymore. Well, he sadly lost his eyesight, so he's not around in visual media anymore. But yes, a lot of people there. In fact, I think even Robert Scoble part of that lot. I mean, everybody had a different. There was no voice in Second Life in those days. It was all text chat or back channeling in Skype. But yeah. Anyway, I'm digressing there. Um, this is just unbelievable. I mean, there is actually a post coming later about somebody wanting to bring smell
Oh.
to the universe, so-called metaverse. There's like Rook Perfumes, right? Are partnering with an NFT. That's a non-fuckable token. Sorry, a non oh god, non-fungible trinkets. Right. Lillian Piper they want 100 investors to create a new perfume over a period of 4 months, and you can guess they want to call it Scent the Metaverse,
Mm.
as in SCENT. You've got to, they've got to stick Metaverse word in there somewhere,
Oh
haven't
yeah.
they?
Yeah.
And this is nothing to do with the actual bringing real scent to the Metaverse. So it involves investors in drop-in chats, learning sessions, interactive games, voting, and Metaverse trips. And everyone will receive a limited edition unisex perfume. But that's the real life side of it. It's not a actual perfume anyway. A law firm have released a guide to the metaverse, and lawyers are now talking about it. This is to Reed Smith. Um, Let me see. www.reedsmith.com, REEDSMITH. And I was actually there a day or two ago. When you get to that site, you have to give your name and email, but then you get a link to download a multicolour 76-page white paper called the Reed Smith's Guide to the Metaverse, which includes information on the concept of the metaverse, its legal implications in areas of intellectual property, data protection, privacy, and blah blahs. Yeah, lots of blah blahs as well.
Lots of blah blahs.
Yeah, lots of blah blahs. Um, anyway, yeah, so I'm not going to read out Cassie's post. Take a load of time, but if you want to read it, you need to go to Forbes.com, Forbes.com. If you're following it from my Twitter link, it will actually take you straight to the actual page. And yeah, well, I do know that if you go to Forbes a lot, they tend to stop blocking you and demanding money off you. You've read your 3 articles for this month, etc. But look, it's there. Right, moving on. Oh, another little pop-up thingy. What's it? Side post. Now we've been on we just end up on the site quite often actually. Um, it's sci as in physics, I think, rather than psychology or psycho. Virtual reality study sheds light on what happens when your brain can't tell which way is up or down. Well, I tend to think that once I put the headset on, I don't know whether I'm upside down or not. But this seems to be taking the opposite. In fact, it basically wants to put you in a headset and then study your ability to know what way up you are. So yeah, I mean, if you're upside down, you'll be standing on your head. But I suppose you could put your hands out above your head. If you're the right way up, you'll be standing on your feet. Why it requires a virtuality of a helmet to figure that out, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, visual reorientation illusion. Yes, VRI, there's a new one for you. It's a phenomenon in which one's perception of body positioning, standing, laid down, or motion, moving, static, disagrees with reality. Yes, your body disagrees with its existence.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of thing. Very, very weird. This we had a similar thing here last week, I think. Anyway, this is all about a study from York University in Canada, and looking at how the brain weighs the weight, right? It weighs contradictory sensory signals. That's what it does. I guess it's like the woman who the 2 things of justice supposed to be equally weighed or something, aren't they? Until dictators come along and sit on them, and then they get lopsided in favour of the right wing normally. What am I talking about? Sorry. I'm just getting slightly mad, as Freddie Mercury
A
used
little
to say.
mad, right?
All right. You think you slightly mad? I think it's one of
Mm-hmm.
his last songs.
It
His
is.
last
I like
song
it too.
from
Yeah.
yeah, it's wonderful actually. Yeah. Right. Anyway, so the Sci Post is the website we're on here. psypost.org. To read all about putting on a headset to set yourself upside down. Really fascinating hobby that will be. Right, here we are. Now this is what this really has to do with the stinky stuff, smell of virtual reality. Startup OVR technology is incorporating smell into virtual reality and using it in a new program designed to allow people to experience the effects of climate change. Personally, I would prefer to just sit on the beach and smell the salt air and the
Mm-hmm.
waves and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But no. Apparently, I'm going to have to smell the of a big island of plastic in the ocean or something. Maybe I don't know why it matters. Why it matters? VR can already stimulate sight, sound, and the sense of movement. But adding smell can help stimulate memories and emotional experiences, making virtual reality all the more real. How it works? Well, they have a device called the ION, ION, which contains vials of different scents attached to a VR headset. So you can think a bit like this as a color printer. Yeah, when you want to print a photograph in your printer, if you still use one, and that's certainly not a very environmentally healthy hobby, um, you mix cyan, magenta, yellow, and red ink to no cyan, magenta, yellow, and black ink. Sorry, to create four, in different percentages to create, the full color spectrum. And so, I've read about this before. I mean, basically, what the f- the fight is on to find the sense, the crucial sense that may not mean anything much in themselves. That say four or five of them that can be triggered to release different amounts and mix together to create smells. So, what 2% of something and 80% of the other thing and 60% of the other thing and 53.5% of another thing may actually create the smell of banana. Whereas you up one of those ingredients by a couple of percent and it no longer smells like a banana. It smells like a rotten banana, maybe. Who knows? But that's the idea, So it's a bit like a printer that it prints out a composite for you using, 4 or 5 inks, or rather smells. And the like a digital printer, software and hardware keys out keys in what you're actually going to get coming out your printer. Your wonderful photo of your baby would be absolutely no good, for example, if the printer forgot to cough up some magenta. It would look very peculiar indeed. So you'll be reliant on the combination of the thing on your headset and the software to actually come up with something passable. Um, and I think something like this will take a long while. I don't mean to latch on, but even to really work in any great way. Um, you can imagine something would launch with a range of 200 smells, which may sound like a lot, but when you've got, in virtual reality, they'd be very specific. They probably would smell like a banana or would smell like the ocean. But 200 smells would run out fairly quickly when you consider the huge array of smells we have in real life. So anyway, helps turn virtual reality into an empathy machine. Where have I heard that expression before? He says. Virtual reality
Professor
is the
Chris
empathy
Milk,
machine.
perhaps? All right.
Yes, and and I believe Second Life is an empathy machine.
No.
Probably OpenSim too. Probably Sansar and empathy. Yeah, they're all empathy machines.
All empathy
So it doesn't
machines.
need you don't have to have smell to become an empathy machine. But well, we'll see. We'll see. Um, actually, the reviewer here went to Shifting Homes, putting the user in the Pacific Island in Simona, threatened by rising sea levels and storms that have been made worse by climate change. The reviewer tried it out at New Lab in Brooklyn, Technology Center for Startups, where OVR are a member. As mayor of the Samorian village Puttasi narrated the story of his island, I could watch the gentle seas and smell the sandy beaches. So I was on the right track with that one, wasn't I? Later, as storms raged, I could smell the ozone from a lightning strike and stench of smoke as fire consumed the village before rising seas submerged me beneath the virtual water. Eloquent paragraph there. Anyway, for all of this, the real smell of virtuality, you want to go to a site called axios.com, AXIOS.com. And again, the actual real page where this is, you can get to Malbones at twitter.com. That's the full page link, should you want it. All right, moving on to a very familiar site here, Road to VR. They didn't publish as much as they used to, but this is Ben Lang reporting again. Waveguide optics are increasingly looking like the best near-term solution for creating AR glasses that are truly glasses side. And Loomis is one such company and recently let their prototype, the 50 degrees FOV maximus be examined under the proverbial microscope. Must say I like the look of these. I like anything that looks wearable, in my opinion. So Lumos, their latest waveguide shows retina resolution and 50 degrees field of view in glasses. And there, if I scroll down a bit here, you can actually see the glasses in question. Most of the rest of the article here is about the different specs and stuff, whatever. Quite a lot of it actually, quite an extensive review. Somebody wearing them there too, which makes you realise that they're pretty closely related to a pair of glasses. Whereas compared with say HoloLens, which makes you look a bit like an alien. In fact, if you wear HoloLens, you probably are an alien in disguise. Right. To find that one, you want to go to roadtovr.com, ROADTOVR.com. Moving on. And this is an interesting site. It's called fiercebiotech.com. Yeah, fierce, fierce. FIERCEBIOTECH.com. Fiercebiotech.com. Quite a nice name when you think about it. Hiru, who are a company, set their sights on virtual reality eye tests and therapies with a $30 million US round financing, that means. I guess the theme is eyesight here today, isn't it? We've got this, we've got the glasses, we've got all sorts of stuff. We may be a little bit hint of the smelly stuff in between. Never mind. Right. The classic wall chart poster is getting an upgrade, with newcomer Haru looking to bring vision tests into virtuality. I think it could well be a good idea in some ways, but it makes you wonder. Having an eye test by looking at the wall chart is probably a pretty robust way of doing it. I'm not entirely sure that I could understand doing it with a virtual reality setup, making it more accurate. If anything, it wouldn't be. It would need also to be taking into account the distortions you would get by wearing a headset in the first place, if you see what I mean. Um, it almost sounds like a product that's not really looking for any customers or with or whatever. But you never know. You never know. The weirdest things take off sometimes. So that's really just my opinion. As I said, you need to go to fiercebiotech.com for this one. I'll follow the direct link on my Twitter. And they've got quite a bit there. They also cover allied things. Researchers touring inside their own cells, and off-the-shelf camera-mounted headsets, Magic Leap. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. If that stuff interests you, it's an interesting read because they cover the product, but also the implications of what needs to be done in that field. Okay. So fiercebiotech.com. Moving on now. I love this website. I don't get it that much, but it's called The Big Think. And yay for the big think. Thinking is something that a lot more people should be doing. Back in the old days, before fake news and the interwebs, actually the majority of people on this planet did engage in this habit of thinking. And it's sort of fallen into disrepute. It's almost sort of extinct. So a site that is promoting thinking, called The Big Think, is a very welcome addition to our modern world, I think, if only in a single word. Right, and they're asking, or rather they're thinking, about whether virtuality will be the death of truth. Good question, that one, eh? Answers on a postcard, please. Well, or not, as the case may be. A famous thought experiment from the 1970s, believe it or not, is more relevant today than ever before. Yeah, back to the 70s. We didn't even have VR then. Well, as we know it now, anyway. Philosopher Robert Nozick asked if we would rather live in the real world or inside a virtual reality machine of never-ending pleasure. Niche asked if truth is really the greatest virtue, and people seem to be hardwired to want the truth, no matter how brutal or present. Flash forward to the year 2045. Yeah, we've got a bit of science fiction in here too, by the look of it.
Sounds
And an eccentric billionaire has revealed to the world an incredible new invention. It's called the Experience Machine, and it's an utterly immersive virtual reality device. It provides multisensory simulation with such sophistication and depth that it's effectively indistinguishable from real life. At the press of a button, the machine can give you constant pleasure of any kind. Yes, indeed. One can imagine. Mansions, fast cars, scoring a Super Bowl touchdown, winning the London Marathon, ruling the Mughal Empire, never-ending orgasms, whatever you want. The question is, if you only had two choices, would you live in the experience machine or the world as it is? So, philosophical big questions from the big think. And if you want to read more about it, and I'm fascinated by this stuff, but I could almost hold a whole panel on talking about this one. But to read this, you simply need to go to bigthink.com, bigthink.com. Now, I'm not quite. I don't actually have that super amount of links here to go today, but there's another. Oh no, there are quite a few of them actually. I do have another link here which sort of segues into that if I can see it, so that I can jump ahead. But no, I can't offhand. So we'll just carry on as ever until the other thing comes in. It's Oh no, here it is. It's at techexplore.com. It raises although this blog we're looking at here, Big Think, is more philosophical than Thinking Man's blog. The issue is also raised here by another link this week at techexplore.com. This is techxplore.com. And more of an ethical issue rather than philosophical issue, I think. But advertising in XR, which means VR, AR, MR, and you know our little song from the end of the show. XR advertising could be a consumer threat if left unchecked. Arguably, that's exactly what happened to the web. Nobody checked, and now it's a threat to everybody in the world because everybody in the world is a consumer, and they're a consumer of the God Emperor Zuki's world. Right. Whether it's trying on lipstick, clothing online, using floor plan software to find how furniture will fit your new home, or doing a contact lens Coke using a cell phone, businesses are continually finding new ways to promote products and services using extended reality technology. Investment in augmented and virtual reality, together known as mixed or extended reality, is expected to mushroom in coming years. And I'll read out the statistics for every year yet to come. So are the opportunities for those advertisers who would use the technology to manipulate, deceive, and even cause harm to consumers, say the University of Michigan School of Information researchers. And well, it's a cautionary tale. Well, it's not really a cautionary tale. It's an article that is by its very nature cautionary. Matib and Shaw, but I think they're the authors, say most of the harms they examined are not yet reality because XR technology is still limited. They're not sophisticated yet enough to create political ads that give different realistic perspective to individuals based on preconceived beliefs, etc., etc. But when these manipulative ads do come, they would say that being aware of the risks is a good step to resisting possible manipulation. And I would concur. This is something we probably rather not have. Um, it pervades the web already, and although I haven't got it up here today, there was a post from Tim Berners-Lee. You'll find it on my feed during the week. Over in Belgium. Belgium, footwear that. Anyway, the new the future web that he has been working on and stuff is going to be trialed somewhere in Europe. As I gather, I mean, it's a long explanation, but I think his thing is that you can't really rebuild the internet. It would and you can't undo, you can't suddenly go back in time and say, no, it can't be used for commerce or anything like that. It's done and dusted. Um, but I think the idea is to, impeach, in future, people will log on using a kind of pod. They will log on as their pod. And pod will not only be their identity and who they are, maybe even an avatar, but it also inside the pod it will have everything about you. But what's inside the pod will not be allowed out. Only to you can facilitate traveling around online through the pod, this sort of invisible pod around you. Be it on the web or presumably even in the virtual world. But what's inside the pod with you is as private as what's under your clothes, kind of thing. That is basically the idea, and it should. The idea is it won't stop people advertising to you. It will be able to stop people invasively advertising to you. Sorry, my my tongue is getting all dried up
Mm,
today.
mm.
Talking too fast, I think. Anyway, all these are sort of cautionary tales. So read this one at techexplore.com. TECHXPLORE.com. And now I got to move up the list again slightly to find out where I was. Oh, yeah, here we are. Right, bbntimes.com. So it's bbntimes.com. This is a good title, isn't it? The biggest idea you've never heard of.
Mm.
Virtual nations. Um, Funny, whoever wrote this, he came across this odd tweet from a tech entrepreneur that stimulated the idea, and he couldn't stop thinking about it and looked into it further and decided it is a big idea. He doesn't say who the tech entrepreneur was actually. It almost sounds like something Will Burns would have coughed up. With the idea you have metadata and then you have meta worlds, then meta galaxies, and then only then at the real top of the thing is what we would call the metaverse. Um, and although Will's schematic, it sort of appeals to sci-fi fans and things, it's somewhere between metadata and meta worlds. You could have meta nations. You know, Increasingly we're looking around the real world at the moment. But countries are becoming more nationalistic. They're going their own way. They're getting protective. They're not just firewalls but cyber threats and things. And also with COVID not helping at all. But mostly down to climate change. There's going to be areas of the world that are going to be written off. Sad to say, including the people who live there. The whole demographic layout of the planet is going to go haywire, even if we solve climate change long term. Um, so yeah, nation states are really still in place, so to speak. I mean, for most of my life, I was I sort of called myself an internationalist. I always thought that, maybe by now, sad to say we haven't, but by now we might have had a world government. Um, Quite a few leaders put paid to that one, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just shows everything's just same old. As soon as you think you've got a nice blueprint for a nice future, then somebody comes along and fucks it up. Um, or several people come along and fuck it up because they start competing with each other and, well, really care about the planet, so to speak. They're probably building their own spacecraft to take off in a few years. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, this guy says, put simply, a virtual nation would allow people with shared values to create a digital territory, likely in the metaverse. Well, that makes sense. With its own decentralized governance powered by blockchain. Um, I'm not so sure about the blockchain thing. That requires an awful lot of energy, maintaining these blockchains and stuff. Resembling a cross between a social network and an invisible country layered over our reality, will be populated by global citizens drawn together across borders by common values, common purpose, and who use the cloud and its technologies to work, rest, and play. Don't forget, however, that the cloud um, is not an abstract thing that just exists there. It's actually servers, and those servers are owned by other players. And what you put on the cloud may not be yours to take off the cloud if you ever wanted to. So anyway, how will this come about and could it really work? And again, this is not the big thing. This is bbntimes.com, but there's a commonality between these links this week. I mean, apart from smells and eyes, we've got, the philosophy side of this too, almost. And coincidentally, as we're about to find out later, even Voices of VR, Kent By, this week. It wasn't a Voices of VR interview, but he delivered a 2.5 hour podcast on on philosophy in VR. So there's definite themes coming up here, and a lot of the commercial players are, acting a bit like philosophers these days. But I mean, you have to take it with a pinch of salt because the commercial players usually have some vested interest down the line long term that is sort of behind their altruism, shall we say. Okay, so BBNTIMES, bbtimes.com there for that one.
Mal,
Um,
Mal,
yeah,
what about
yeah,
How about non-fungible countries?
yeah.
Yeah. Can you wait?
Um, huh?
Non-fungible
No,
countries.
not really.
Maybe that's next.
So long as it's a non-fascist country. And actually, country is a C, not an S, T.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, no, I've got that one sorted. Non-fungible territory.
Yep. Ah, perfect. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Beats trinkets any day, doesn't it?
That'll work. You you should copyright that.
Yeah, okay. Bring on the non-fungible territories, folks. Yay.
Yay.
Okay, I'll not even attempt to come up with a blueprint from scratch there. Okay, Lava Virtual blog, lavavirtual.com here. The first African delegation at a global XR event. Now, well, yeah, this really is what it says it is. Blog dot laval blog dot laval dash virtual.com. Lava Virtual are a sort of um, enterprise type world. Um, uh, they basically have a VRAR exhibition welcoming the first African XR delegation on July 7th to the 9th. Um, how you interpret that headline, I think, is really up to you. I mean, there have certainly been, even in Second Life, there have been, which in the early days had lots of sort of regions and things built on different parts of the world and full of communities from different parts of the world. There was a lot of cultural outreach, real world, cultural outreach happening in Second Life for a very long while. Um, and meetings and stuff. But what they're talking about here is really on a very different level. um, 6 companies working in the field of immersive technology and one student team will form a pavilion during the event, and an African delegation is coming uh, to a major event. South Africa, Kenya, Egypt, and vertical topics, content creation, hardware, education are all represented. Um, They were selected after an open call launched by a Nigerian company and the Lava Virtual themselves. And yeah, um, bridging the gap between Africa and Europe. Yeah, this is interesting. It's a very specific thing, of course, if you're interested in it. But the only comment I would make is that it is hardly surprising that, things like this are beginning to happen. because of COVID. We're all used to Zoom calls, and even government leaders talk to each other via Zoom nowadays. So I always thought it was a red telephone, but obviously not anymore. Um, and so, to see many, trans-territorial sort of events and things like that, coming online and happening virtually. And I don't mean virtually the way Boris Johnson does. To him, a Zoom call is being virtual. You know, but this is Lava Virtual are actually they create virtual spaces and stuff, and they facilitate what we really think of as virtual reality. The only thing I'm not so sure about is that I've got quite a lot of links to Lava Virtual, but I don't think any of them, and I may be wrong because they call themselves a major global XR company. I'm not actually sure any of them are compatible with headsets, which in this case may be better. Um, it's for people on this level who are coming to delegates to a conference and stuff, they may be much happier with something virtual world. They see like Second Life, OpenSim, even Sansar here that they'll actually see on screen. So we'll see anyway. So blog.lavavirtual.com, and Lava Virtual is LAVAL dash VIRTUAL. And moving this. Right. Now, this is a site called 702.co.za, which I think is South Africa. I'm not so it's not New Zealand. And I keep thinking, it's a bloody good, you got this website called 702 Co, I wonder if anybody ever tried to be clever and create a website called 404.com.
Mm-hmm. It's
And then
possible, right?
fill it with a notice that looked exactly like what we get. However, anyway, this again they've got everybody's got, if they aren't actually claiming a metaverse, they're having a good excuse to write about it, whether they understand it or not. Metaverse, a potential future internet, combine high-speed internet, powerful hardware, software, build a virtual world, rival the real one. Welcome to the metaverse. Again, they are spot on to begin with, anyway. And I think it was Will Burns who pointed out that sort of this sounded like an exciting article until he started reading it, and it was same old, same old. Um, the starting point is the end testament, the Epic Games Apple thing. Um, citing Fortnite and purchases and everything. Um, uh, okay, they do a little quiz here where they ask you to pretend to be Judge Dion Gonzalez Rogers and see what your take is on the following statements. So it then goes on. Epic, of course, and Epic CEO Tim Sweeney has long argued that they're not producing games anymore. They're building the metaverse, or a metaverse, right? Implying that there are multiple metaverses, and now this is, of course, where we're back in back in cloud cuckoo land, as I would call it. Anyway, Epic Games are not going to be the metaverse, and never will be, and never have been, or whatever. Maybe they can build something that could be part of the metaverse, but if they think they're going to lay the ground rules, I'm not sure. However, something else that's coming up a bit later, wait a minute actually, is a new version of the Unreal authoring engine, which was updated this week, and I don't think right that it's not actually mentioned in this article. It mentions um, the Unreal Engine, but it's a different context. Um, Right. Basically, the early access for the Unreal Engine now renders games that make you look like you're watching a movie, but that's actually not the news to do with virtuality per se. So this website is apparently called Not Secure. Love it.
Okay.
It's no, it's 702, which is numbers .co.za. Not secure simply means they haven't got a currently valid certificate, and you'd be amazed how many sites fall in that one. The White House has expired sometimes. The BBC, famous for getting to renew their certificates.
Yeah.
The bigger the company, the less likely they are to renew their certificates and therefore be classed as not secure from time to time. Funny old world, really. It isn't right. Right. Okay. So going to the vrfocus.com, this is the next article, which is about the Unreal Engine 6 itself. And they've uh, Unreal Engine 5. Oh, that was a year ago, right? So 6 they've revealed details of, and the main thing is they've got templates for VR in it, but also they're supporting OpenXR. Now, OpenXR is the idea here, at least, is an underlying framework that people can build VR applications on. Maybe those can become a metaverse. It's interesting, of course. Epic um, owns the Unreal Engine these days, and it's a popular video game development engine. But I guess they'll rebrand it as a popular metaverse development engine shortly. Seems to be the way they're going. But what is good news here is that they are actually supporting the OpenXR framework, which is a bit like open source and stuff. Um, of course, that's not the end of it. I mean, take Open Simulator, for example, which we're very fond of. The Open Simulator code is open source, but that doesn't stop people downloading it and then adding their own bits and customizing it. And certain customizations they have to make public for free. Other customizations they can under their hat, so to speak. So even if you start with open source code, it doesn't necessarily mean it's all going to stay that way. Although, if there's an underlying framework is used by everybody that remains open source, then that can be very useful indeed. And you see that with OpenSim and the hypergrid, where you've got thousands of different grids like Second Life, all connected as opposed to walled garden. Um, and they that wouldn't happen if they didn't all subscribe to the open source level of the code. Right, anyway, so anyway, this post you'll find at vrfocus.com, vrfocus.com, and this specifically covers the new version of the Unreal Engine, and it's supporting OpenXR, etc., etc. So, moving on to engadget.com, engadget.com. And Acer, who of course make mighty fine computers, don't they? Well, I think they do. One of mine is an Acer. I forget anything that's PC related. I know what's Apple. Anyway, Acer SpatialLabs offers glasses free 3D for professionals. Now, I don't know. I mean, when I first saw that photo, I thought boring, and then I actually studied very carefully that the headphones are actually coming out of the laptop screen. The guy on behind is working on the schematics on regular screens, as it were. Now, whether that's trick photography, or whether that is actually the idea that somehow, I mean, I don't know, for example, whether if those glasses he's wearing are AR glasses, but this claims to be glasses free. And they do say it's for professionals, for the sort of enterprise medium. I'm not, well, to be honest, the only equivalent thing I can think of is the unfortunate 3D television or 3D Blu-rays and things that came out for a while. You still had to have glasses or some kind of way to fool the eye to create the depth and the offset to have the illusion that something is in much more the foreground than the background. Um, I don't know. As they say, this isn't yet a commercial product, and maybe it never will be, but it's a development program that will see projects selected to receive early hardware. Um, and, to do with eye tracking, cameras on machines, positioning images towards the user's eyes, all sorts of things. As well as cutting down on render time, the partnership hopes it will end the days of wonky 3D models. Yeah,
Hmm.
you heard me, wonky 3D models, whose flaws are only revealed when they've spent hours being gussied up in the computer. So there you go. Acer, of course, are a pretty, big name in the world of computer manufacturers and hardware and stuff. So it's not like a small company coming out of the blue. And the example they're using to explore the concept is a real-time review of a model built in Maya and the Unreal Engine. There we go again. Without the back and forth heavy rendering pipeline of Maya, let you import three-dimensional CAD files to be presented stereographically. Anyway, if you're interested in the future of fooling your eyesight or whatever,
Hmm.
this is where you want to go. Engadget.com, our general technology site rather than specific, but I thought that was kind of interesting. engadget.com. And oh, sorry, that's the advertising business. We covered that already. Okay, now this is a post in the Independent, which is a national newspaper here in the UK, one of the three major ones. Um, they're talking about Epson, who most people know from printers, don't they? They've got £600 augmented reality smart glasses that are a glimpse into the future. Yes, the smart glasses are finally beginning to arrive fast and furiously. And yeah, I saw one a week. I went to look it up, and I couldn't buy it easily because it was USA only. And then when I actually read a lot of the specs, I realised that the headline was much more positive about the product than fiction was. Google, after a failed attempt with Google Glass, purchased a startup to make a second attempt, whilst Facebook has continued being developing glasses to build mixed reality future. Apple's been long rumored to doing the same, saying industries will be changed entirely and nothing will be left untouched. But as I say, currently all of this is vaporware, conceptual products that are not yet available to buy. What is available to buy are Epson's Moverio BT-40. Yes, gosh golly, a
Hmm.
600 pound pair of second screen smart glasses, as the company calls them. And yeah, um, I like the way they call them a 600 pound pair of second screen glasses. When I went to look at them, I thought they can't get them in the UK. So why are they charging them in pounds? I don't know. Um, But there's no picture in this article, I'm afraid. But they looked kind of appealing. Um, the only thing that was a bit odd about them is they rest much higher up on the bridge of your nose than a normal pair of glasses would. The implications seem to be that you should be able to look at the real world by looking down and look at the AR by looking up. In other words, parallel site rather than a direct overlay. Anyway, you can find this article at the Independent Co UK, independent.co.uk, and I'm just going to do a little bit of naughty here. Um, yeah, there we are. The website. Oh fuck.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
Oh Lord, yeah, this is why I don't go to websites live on air. We did for one brief second
I saw a glimpse of it. Right.
spy.
Right.
Yeah, we did. We saw a glimpse of where's the
The
bloody
future. We saw a glimpse of the future.
we did indeed. So back here we go. Yeah, I don't know why the picture is not showing up in the reader view. This happens. It's probably the way the picture's embedded on the page. But yeah, if you really look quickly there, you can see that the glasses sort of really do rest rather high, and plenty of room to kind of be the real world underneath. But anyway, you can check that out. Always interesting to see a new thing. The description here at the top is these, whilst all the other people have smart glasses on the horizon, this one's here already, and it feels like a canvas waiting for paint, according to Adam Smith, who wrote the article there. So moving on. Right, this is a site at theverge.com, theverge.com, and about art collectors who are making their own metaverse through games. I'll get another example of an article using the word metaverse, presumably to attract your attention. They're not that, not quite that off here, actually. These are artists. They never played a video game in their life, but they're doing all this sort of video games and things via Steam, and they're really considered art, basically. And it's the way that they're talking about the way artists who are creating these sort of immersive experiences are effectively, if you link them all together, so they're effectively like building part of what could be ultimately called a metaverse, part of it, I should say. In 2005, they created ESL Collection, which was an influential collection of Chinese contemporary art that never exceeds 350 objects. It goes into all that. This is great. Oh, I know what a special collection here. It wasn't a far stretch for DSL Collection to reimagine how they wanted to share their art with the world. In 2009, this is 12 years ago, they created a Second Life museum with new media artist Lilian Hongli. And a few years later, came a virtual exhibition in a hacked recreation of the Grand Palais Museum in Paris, which requires stereoscopic glasses to fully enjoy the artwork. Then along came virtual reality, inverted commas, mine. Very quickly, they learned that immersion and gamification were becoming very important in the experience of art, and especially with VR, we were trying to reach a missing audience, they say. And it carries on from there. So, this is not a post about something currently in Second Life, although I don't know, the region may still be there. But, there's been a long road really from Second Life 12 years ago into sort of all aspects of immersive art and making art as games as a way of creating parts of the metaverse, I suppose. That's the way I've got to describe it anyway.
Okay.
I refuse to come up with quotes that I think are misleading. Right, okay, I'm going to move on. So I don't come up with the wrong quotes there. Right, uploadvr.com, uploadvr.com. And this sounds interesting too. Especially when you read the article. Mocap for All aims to turn phones and webcams into full body trackers for only $100. What?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Give me, please. Yep. The AKUMA Research Institute now wants to have a multi-view body tracking system. Right. They could find no web presence for AKUMA Research Institute beyond the Twitter account started last month. But they translated the tweets from, I guess, Japanese or whatever, Chinese, and the videos have already gone somewhat viral. So they're not really quite sure who and what it is, especially they can't find the company. They can only find the tweets. But there again, there are videos. They could be fake. We all know that things can be fake these days.
Mm-hmm.
maybe we're getting to the point where they're more likely to be fake than real. But nevertheless, upload VR did actually think it was worth mentioning on this. They do also talk about HTC's Vive trackers and stuff like that. And Mocap for all. Sounds good, doesn't
Yep.
it? That's their tag phrase. Okay, moving on. You'll find that at uploadvr.com. And moving on and moving down in my case. Oh, we're nearly finished here. Right, this week in XR. This, of course, is the one that always comes near the end of the week. This is Charlie Fink's post at Forbes.com. Forbes.com. Looking at Omni Cyber Shoes, more immersion, Hawaii VR sneak peek, whatever. This again is a fair old roundup of what's been happening this week. Some you'll also find in my Twitter feed some links to these things, which I haven't covered today, but get them fairly easily. And yeah, including Tim Cook's testimony at the Epic trial, which may not have gone Apple's way as much as they thought, but apparently it's unexpectedly revealing about a few things. Exclusive hands-on with Hawaii's VR glasses. I can never know how to pronounce Huawei.
Huawei.
I think that.
I've heard it
Well,
pronounced
yeah, I think that.
Huawei. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the one that Donald Trump didn't like very much.
That's
So
correct. Right.
we've probably been through a few thousand mispronunciations anyway.
Right. Right.
I wouldn't trust any pronunciation he came up with. Oh, but them, the Chinese, aren't they? Yeah,
That's
they're
right.
bad. Right. Apple Worldwide Developers Conference begins in about a week. There are rumors that quite a few things are in there. I don't think we're anywhere near an announcement on smart glasses, but some people, they make a point that Apple always buries an Easter egg or two in the actual invitation. So people who've been invited to this are also sort of scrutinizing their invite to see if looking for hidden clues in the text of the invite.
Fun.
Yeah, people are great having fun anyway. And the VR AR Global Summit is back next week on June 2nd to the 4th. And the time is now. Speakers will be Ted Schilowitz, who's with Charlie Fink, of course, on the Weekend Review. Kent Bai, Voices of VR. Amy Peck, Tom Fisk, and also Boland and Holler Ward, who I'm not sure they are. Tickets are $45 for VR AR members. And that is actually online, but I do know they always post the stuff after suitable length of time online for free afterwards. Yep. So yeah. Other events too. The flotilla. Okay, and what we're reading. So yeah, a general kind of roundup there to supplement what we've already been talking about on our show today. And you'll find that at Forbes.com, Forbes.com. And back over here in the UK, we've got another post from VR Focus, VRFOCUS.com. And Unity, as opposed to the Unreal Engine we've mentioned quite a bit from Epic today, Unity is one of the biggest, probably the biggest, even more than Unreal, authoring software and actual software engines for running VR and building virtual worlds and related stuff. If you want to get into the software side of the industry, it's a good program to know. To help in that endeavor, it runs Unity Centre of Excellence's Academy around the world, and there's a new one opening here in Salford in the UK. Its training program will be run by Simon Benson, who should know a thing or two about VR, as he was previously director of Sony Immersive Technology Group, which created PlayStation. For your information thing, really, there is Simon Benson himself, looking disgustingly young. Yeah. Again, it's a money thing. It's 400 and oh right, yeah. Well, okay. You're gonna be in there for a year or two, I think. the course costs 458 UK pound per month.
Hmm.
So the total fee comes to 5,500 GBP. Presume it's you actually treat it like leaving school and going to university. I don't know. Sort of long past that sort of thing for me, anyway. Yeah, anyway, so Unity Centre of Excellence is opening in Salford here in the UK. That's the main news. And moving on to NME. NME stands for, back in my day, they used to call it New Musical Express, but it's now just NME.com. I don't even think the paper one exists anymore. It might, but I think with the pandemic it might have disappeared. But they're talking about clubs providing a new frontier for virtual performance and immersing events. Talking about staying in to go out. In other words, they're exploring the VR chat club scene. This is so specific to VR chat, but it could. And so, all the stuff they're covering here is clubs you can go to inside VR chat. This really is a link that should probably have gone up to World News' feed rather than Malbone's, but there we go. It's sort of, I'd like to see NME, who are a big site, actually do a series of these, not just VR chat, but looking at Sansar and other platforms which have a lot of nightclubs in them. Even Second Life could, and OpenSim could both
Mm-hmm.
handle a review of this nature. There's clubs and things throughout OpenSim on different grids and in Second Life. So, you're not stuck with VR chat, although possibly that, of course, I presume is a headset thing, so it does offer certain extra stuff. Um, anyway, so it's a review anyway, and you find that at nme.com. And my very last link of the week, I'm at the bottom of the scrolly bit, is Scar Ghost yet again. So
Hmm.
I won't hear it, but I'm going to let James howl.
There's the howl.
There was the howl. Okay, well, I didn't hear it, but he did. Okay. Six Live, who? It's about why you are. What? And the competition with Facebook. Yeah. Well, that's good. Any competition for Facebook is by me. Okay. Let's see. Facebook released AirLink and integrated it into the runtime of Quest 2. Guy Godin's complained a lot to Facebook about competing with his application. Before him, blah blah, but the big screen VR, all moaning about Facebook basically. And Six Live, previous CEO of YUR, found Facebook basically taking his big screen VR and running with their own copy of it. And yeah, YUR, a new software he's working on, is also being literally copied by Facebook as a new service called Oculus Move. So Scott Ghost went and did an interview with him, and
Hmm.
and looky here, scrolly.
Yep. Yep.
It's not as bad as some of them, but he goes in for sort of long interviews and quite revealing too in that particular case. Okay. So that's the last one there. Now I'm going to go quickly and move over to Discord, where there's a listable, a section called new videos. I'm actually trying to automate the posting of that to Mastodon, um, and then which is where you don't tweet, you toot. And then take the RSS feed from Mastodon and put it into our Twitter feed. So all these video links will get up to Twitter in a roundabout route, but still be notably separated, as it were, as they come through. So where am I here? There have been masses of videos this week, basically, and my eyesight really is. I've got my glasses here. It's an extra magnifier, believe it or not. You guys at home do not know the things we go for to bring this to you.
Right.
Can I read them? Yeah. Okay, the univirtual experience, the educators thing, quite literally earlier today, round up with a closing event. I didn't make it, but a lot of people have been there. It's been full of Twitter feeds and stuff like that. Starting at the beginning of this week, and when I talk about dates here, I'm talking about the dates that videos were posted online. Where are we? 24th last week. Yeah, here we are, 25th. Various educators, I'm going to quickly go through to the first one of each of these, each of them. Educators in VR, this is VR researchers discussion and workshop. So I won't be going to the other ones, but I'm going to this one simply to give. Right, I'm going to this one simply to make sure you get the names of the YouTube accounts you need to look up. So this is Educators Space in Space VR. And this is about the ethics of social VR research. Somebody called Victoria Chan presentation. And this was actually on. Oh, it wasn't this Monday. It was the Monday before or something. But anyway, the actual video has just come up this week. So as we get to some of the other ones, I will simply tell you educators in VR, and this is the account you need to look up. Okay, so moving down. Okay, univirtual experience. Right, this is different. Okay. This is the first one of the week from the univirtual experience. Impact of ethical considerations on the future of VR. Shit, pardon my language. Right. Oh, well, that wasn't meant to happen. Let me try that again. All right, yeah, there we are. Ooh. Okay, okay, it still thinks. Okay, there we are. Right, okay. Yeah, welcome. Never mind. Okay, this is Educators in VR still. It's just the earlier one was Educators in VR. This is still them, but part of the univirtual thing. Impact of ethical consideration on the future of VR, and yeah, there are quite a few on this one. Caitlin Cruz was hosting. Kent By, Tom Furness, and Britton Heller were actually talking there, and later on, as the camera pans out, you will even see me, not on the panel, just hanging around in front of it. Right, so remember that one. That was a good talk there. Of course, the moment you can't buy in anything, it turns out to be good. you can even enlighten the most boring of subjects, can that guy? Right. Okay, moving down. Same site again. They had a fireside chat with Alvin Wang Graylin. I'm not quite sure who he was, and we haven't got time to open up all these to double check. There was a panel in Altspace VR hosted by Paula McDowell. And well, unfortunately, the slide doesn't really give you the title of the panel, but anyway, it's quite interesting. Then moving forward a little bit, earlier in the week, we had the early edition of Between Realities. So we'll just have a quick open of that. With an extended intro. There they are, as usual. They're making a big fuss of this because it was actually it was live, so their guest, instead of being on the screen at the back, was actually in the studio with them. There, they got a third person. They squashed a third person into their live studio. Anyway, that's right. They're also chuffed about it's the first ever episode where they actually managed to get a guest into their so-called spaceship. So yes, that's nice to do. Always keen to see that stuff happening. Getting quite jealous, in fact. Okay, so the site you want for this is Between Realities. That's the name of the show, and it's the name of the YouTube account. So Between Space Realities. They do 2 shows a week. It's the Monday, Tuesday-ish one that you really want to look out for because they're looking at tech and VR and all the stuff of it. They do actually publish other videos that are very interesting too. But the later in the week version of Between Realities is very much a thing for gamers and experiences. So in slightly less interesting, at least to
That
us.
sounds a lot
Um,
like Upload VR.
it does. Sorry, I'm getting. Okay, thank you, James. I've
Oh,
just
sure. Okay.
confused
I
everybody,
wasn't
haven't
sure.
I?
Yep. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah, I get. Sorry, this is Between Realities, not Upload VR. Okay, this one now anyway was earlier in the week, but Between Realities was subscribing and following them anyway because they do have plenty, as well as the actual Between Realities show. They
Yeah,
do have
yeah.
a few other videos coming up too. But my apologies there. I must admit I was getting confused with Upload VR. There's just too many these
Too many
days.
shows. Yeah.
I think I'll just stop. You know, I think I'm just going to watch the ones called Metaworld from now on. You
Uh,
know.
uh, I can understand that.
Yeah, anyway, put it away, he says. Right, okay, so that was Between Realities. Another one that I can barely read here was, well, basically more of the univirtual things. If you actually go to Educators in VR, it always helps to go to the top and where it says videos and then look at all their videos in a list because then you can pick and choose the ones you want. This is Thomas somebody, and it was a session in Space VR. I'm going to move down anyway. Now, I can now start talking all over again because the next one is Upload VR. Okay, Upload VR happens twice a week, and it's actually several. You get several other ones that they do as well. Um, There we go. Okay, so this is the VR download, and this is the early week edition, which is Monday or sometimes Tuesday, and very interesting it is too. Um, they do another show later in the week, and I think actually they may have actually started changing the title from VR download to games download or something. I'm not quite
Sure.
sure.
Yeah.
I'd have to double check, but they're all good shows. But the one we're particularly interested in is the Monday edition VR download, where they look at, Snapchat's glass, all the stuff that we cover on this show and the blogs we link to cover. So the site you want there to look up at YouTube again, their YouTube account is Upload VR. There's no space in this, so it's the word upload with a capital U and then no space, then just VR, which is also in capitals. You can see it on your screen in front of you there, I believe.
So I really wish I could have attended that
Hopefully
episode
you can
live,
anyway.
the
I,
Monday
I, I'll
episode.
just.
I would have liked to attend that show live because
Well, what?
Ian. Yeah, can you hear me, Mel?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Hearing you.
Yep. Yeah, so Ian was talking about, he finally got to the point of saying, well, the ultimate glasses will be, such and such a combination of technologies. And I just couldn't hold myself watching the recording and say, no, I think the ultimate VR experience will be having direct access to the brain and no glasses, no hardware,
Uh,
no nothing. And it's funny to
yeah.
me that people forget that, and that our current VR fun times is still a transitional technology to what would be a true virtual reality.
I agree. I think very much. I mean, you can understand that in the current, we've got some professional glasses now. We've got various headsets and things. It's very easy for some people to limit their focus to what's already available. And oh, is it going to be the glasses or the headset that wins?
Right,
But of
right,
course, like you're saying, at the end of the day, neither will win. It will be something else completely that supersedes them.
right,
And then there'll be something else that supersedes that.
right. Well,
Yeah,
such
we
is the
go,
world,
but
right, right.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, actually, I forget which it was. One of these shows. I think it was Between Realities. Actually, I got an alert from YouTube when it went live, and
Hmm.
it happened to go live while I was actually looking at the screen here. So I sort of, it's about 15 minutes in when I got into it,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of links to follow, so I didn't follow it. But I was very tempted to just stay there and add some things in chat, because depending on when you tune in, the conversation could be about anything anywhere, really.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I
Um,
do like about the Upload VR people is that they watch the chat very closely, so it's a highly interactive experience.
yeah. Um, yeah. No, it's always a good thing to do. I mean, back in the days of metanomics, for example, in Second Life,
Hmm.
um, I had a sort of information center, info hub, it was called, or whatever, in there at the time over at Chilbo, and we were a partner in the sense that more people wanted to watch this thing than could get into the official venue. So using the video broadcast, we had lots of offshoot venues, so when could take the overflow from the official venue, even though they'd be watching it on a screen. But the great thing about it is we had something called Chat Bridge, which allowed us to link the chat channel from all those different regions, both the actual venue plus all the linked screening venues, were all linked. So if people were talking and conversing with the host and stuff like that, it was the same wherever in Second Life you were. This wasn't done on YouTube; it was done on Treat
Right,
TV. So,
right.
the in-world chat was the place to be. It was incredibly busy. It never stopped. Every week, whether it was a highlight episode or just an normal one, people talking, and plus a lot of gossip too. Because people, the funny thing was, you get somebody who you knew would be waving to you from another region. You
Hmm.
know,
Yep.
they making full use of the fact the chat was in multiple regions. But yeah, it was very much. I don't think Metanomics would have been anything like as successful if it wasn't for that chat, let alone the chat bridge.
Yeah.
Because people wanted to be there, even if it was in not the real sim, but a sim that was hosting the video. They felt like where they were there because their chat was connected. They just because they were in another sim watching it on the big screen didn't mean they couldn't ask a question or say hello to somebody else sims away. So yeah, I
Yep.
think chat much more that I'm a voice person. I've never been very good at typing chat. I mean, I used to write a bit, but I can't even write anymore because I got so used to texting. But typos everywhere. It makes you type too fast. So I've never been really into that. But as an accompaniment to video, it is wonderful because it's like you go to the cinema, you don't, or a concert, you don't really talk to anybody else while you're watching the film or watching the concert. You talk about it afterwards, but when you started getting musicians playing in, say, Second Life, then they would be on a stream and they'd talk to the audience through a stream, but the audience would talk back in the text chat, which you didn't have to worry about butting in on the music. The music was clean. You were listening to the music. But if you wanted to chat to your neighbour or even chat to the performer, you could do it through text chat. And, you quite often find a performer would finish their number.
Yep.
And once you got used to the fact there was a bit of lag, before they introduced their next number, they'd be responding to something they'd been reading the audience saying while they were performing the previous song. And so again, it brought that whole community thing into it. And although I'm never opt for text as a direct method of communication, as a supplement to video, it's wonderful potential there, really. Anyway, how did I get into that little rabbit hole? Yeah, you can rely on me to jump down whatever rabbit hole is presenting itself.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Moving on again to another YouTube. Um, okay. This. Uh, Okay. Right, we'll get there in the end, won't we? Let's come down the road. That's Trevor Flowers, Julie Smithson. Right. I forget what day it was. I think it was Tuesday, but we had the Web XR developer comment. Now, the key word there is web. Right? Web XR. XR is MR, AR, VR, everything else. But this is about stuff being developed to run on the web. Um, Mozilla Hubs is probably the most famous these days of things. Even though things like Samsung, where we are now, has a web version, it's not quite the same um, quality as the standalone client. But anyway, I forget what day it was, but it's in two parts basically. There was the morning session and the afternoon session. This is the afternoon session, and you can get to it at WebXR. So that's web and then XR in capitals, but all one word. Space Developer Space Summit. And as I say, there's the morning one and the afternoon one. I've got them listed here this afternoon, first, then morning, but that was just the way they came in. Um, I'm obviously not going to play stuff here per se.
That's great.
As you can see, it goes from the two at the beginning to a larger Zoom call. That's Eva Henning. I know her. Very well from there she is. God, what's her name? In Second Life, she's one of the first people I knew in Second Life. I haven't got her name now, but it should come to me. Finding her in all sorts of worlds. Here we are again, Blair McIntyre, who. Oh, what's happened to his purple hair? Sorry. We had him at the Epson conference 2 years ago on a panel, but he seems to have got rid of his purple hair, which is rather odd. Anyway, yeah, so a whole load of people. He, of course, was from Mozilla Hubs, although a lot of other stuff too.
They can learn it and understand it, but nothing sort of at the level of the stuff Kai's talking about.
Anyway, as I said, I can't keep on with that. So the site, what you want here, and it's quite long, of course, it's about 4 or 5 hours, 4.5 hours for the afternoon session there. And you find it WebXR Developer Summit is the account you need. I'm not going to load the other session, the morning session, but it's roughly the same amount of time. So really good listening. When it was live, I managed to tune into bits of it, but I'm always following my news links and multitasking, so don't always get to all those. So definitely two very good ones there to check out. There is also at Vimeo.com, you'd have to look it up. You can look up an account for Acadius. Acadius is being run by the architect Jean Bouchot, but also Pathfinder Lester. And they're focusing a lot on simulations, health simulations and stuff. So they had another one this week, which is just really a highlights film showing lots of simulations they're actually involved with. They do actually have a Discord channel too, if you want to keep in touch with them. So it's Acadius, ACADICUS, and the account at YouTube is the same, frankly. And yeah, Room Key. Okay. We featured something on Room Key last week. Yeah, but anyway, let's open that one. This was the Social Entrepreneur Festival.
Yeah, now this is happening.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. So the account is Room Key, and it's the Room Key platform's own channel here. And this is quite interesting. It's 3/4 of an hour, and it's an interview with Biz Stone, who was the co-founder of Twitter and Medium, for that matter. But he's also an advisor to the Room Key platform. So the CEO of Room Key interviews him there. There's also quite a lot of people in the audience here. who actually get engaged in the conversation a bit later on. It opens up for questions and stuff like that. And it's quite interesting. I mean, there's very little talk about something like Twitter or even Medium for that matter. He reflects on things he knew about the time Twitter started, but also up to date too. And he seems to know more about virtual reality or virtual worlds from back in the day than he does now. But interesting talk anyway, and equally interesting questions that were fired at him too. So pretty articulate guy actually. Okay, so moving down again. Okay, our next link goes to the Augmented World Expos channel, which is just Awe, I think. This is one of a series.
Reed, you want to share with us?
This is one of a series called Awe Night. Their account for all the Awe conferences and events is AWE Space Dash Space Augmented Space World Space Expo. And this particular one was a discussion, a virtual collaboration workshop. And it's interesting. I'm going to show you a little bit of this. It's hosted by Charlie Fink, right?
Ah.
And there is a fully paid version coming up next month, and this is an hour and a half sort of exhibit. Previewing it, but that was a lot of great conversation in its own right. I was actually at this one, and not only that, my camera, I don't know where you can see me, that there is me with my, so, remote face, basically. That's an avatar I have generated from photographs. In the background is an artificial background, and although you can't really see it here, I've got fish swimming in midair in the room behind me, and everybody was saying, "What are you using? What are you using?" But mostly it was these guys up top there, Charlie Fink and Chris and various people. So that was a great session.
I zoomed in on it,
50
Mel. So that's
Oh, you
interesting.
did?
Yeah.
On me, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
if I should get it playing, you'll see. You see.
Oh, the fish. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it's gone now, but.
Yep. That's great.
If you really want to jam on an idea or get creative.
Yeah, he's floating around. He's floating around. So I've. It's my default if I'm going to a Zoom conference or stuff, and I don't particularly want, to be seen.
Sure.
Basically, that's it. My lips are flapping whether I'm talking or not as a rule, but basically, they uploaded photograph, and they made that.
Okay.
And then I've just got like a metal space behind me on that one. But this pass is what they call it, is with software I'm showing here, it's called Remote Face. I don't know whether it's on the Mac, so I'm not quite sure.
Mm-hmm.
You just select it as an alternative camera, and it links up to your normal camera, except it doesn't show your normal camera. It just shows you your sort of photo selfie, avatar. Photo avatar. I don't know what to call it. But when I'm actually in Zoom, of course I can change the background just like I can if it was my real world view.
Sure. Yep.
And I'm quite happy with this one because it is so close to my real world look. It's the ideal avatar to have on video calls, really. Until I press the button and actually accidentally reveals the real camera and all the junk behind me.
Yep.
Everything else, but no, this has really become my preferred webcam these days for anything where, anything that isn't a personal call, really.
Yep.
So, a little bit of info there. Remote camera, that is called for the Mac. Okay, so as you can see, yes, I was in the Awe thing there. That was it was a talk, panel discussion, basically. Okay, what was I doing now? I've lost me place. Oh no, there we are. Okay, Awe Night again. Okay, this will be the same site, or dash Augmented World Expo, right? This was actually an all-night from Houston, and it was just a session called Ask the AR Experts. It wasn't a Zoom type thing. It was actually filmed in, not quite sure. Oh, what the hell? I'll load it for you anyway. It's actually the same YouTube account, but it looks very different. It's there we are. So
you can just simply go to these locations.
Forget what world this was in.
So aside from all of our all the typical social channels where you can find AWE, Instagram.
So remember, this is like the local chapter in Houston, Texas. I don't know what world they're filming in here, to be honest. But as it goes along, there you go. Yeah, you got people in the audience talking as well.
How to successful software strategy, how to perform the go-to-market strategy. But my challenge comes to the part where
Okay, well, you can get the idea there. So that's also the same site, the OR site. All right, moving down here. Oh, right, now this was one. This one's really great. I talked about this. In fact, I hinted at this when we were looking at all those philosophical things, the big thing and all that stuff earlier. This is a session called VR and Philosophy, and it's posted on the channel for Alt VR, ALTER. The VR bit is in capitals, and they basically sit down in a treehouse in the shade in VR chat to interview Kent Bai, and it's wonderful. Kent Bai on philosophy, and wait for it, 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Ah, okay.
So we'll just play that. What happened there? I think it's I think I've lost my. Oh, okay. They had lost audio. Fair enough.
Ah, the best laid plans.
Yeah.
There it is.
There we are. Okay, this was this. Oh, wonder I can't scroll. Sorry, this has suddenly changed. We are now watching live the end of the Universal Experience closing celebrations in Old Space VR. So they're doing all the stand-up thanking everybody business. I thought it was actually over by now, but it's apparently still on. So this clip is actually live, and of course it's Educators in VR. All over. There won't be a flood of them again next week.
Learn more about all of them. We also want to thank our, again, make Daniel.
Okay. Well, that was a little bonus. No wonder I couldn't scroll. I couldn't scroll because I was on a completely different thing. Anyway, this is the interview in VR chat with. It's odd. I mean, it is just a great interview, but you do have to sit through 2 hours and 40 minutes of this, more or less. You know, you win some, you lose something, but the conversation with Kent is great. So very excellent one. As I say, it was a crowded week for video.
Yeah.
The Educators in VR also had reality in VR with Riva, RIVR. That was not a panel, that was an interview. And then we have something that you all know and love every week. which is This Week in XR, which is the Charlie Fink show. That's this week's. And again, he had Kathy Hackey and John. Who's the other John? It was a bit. Oh yeah, John Buzzell. So it wasn't just the two of them this week. There's two guests as well. Just see. Oh, there we are. Yeah. So there's Kathy joining in, and John as well. It's relatively short. It's only half an hour, but it feels longer. It feels longer when you're actually watching these things. Okay, so the account you want for that is simply called This Week in XR, space between each of the words on that one. And yep. Okay, Between Realities I gave you earlier. I think there was a second. I've got a second. Yeah, second show featuring science teacher something. So that the YouTube is Between Realities. So it's the second one from them this week. There's another universal experience, which is cultural heritage, which is introduction. That was filmed in Altspace. Coming up to date, the last couple of days, Coffee and VR. This isn't half a bad show. I mean, they are clearly gamers, but they do their coverage and what they talk about does sort of extend out of
What's going on, everybody? My name's Tyler. This
render reality. Basically, it covers quite a lot of stuff. They're talking about announcements from Population One and some real world for VR.
everything to where it is now. It's just epic.
So this one this isn't quite as elaborate as the spaceship on the other program, but
and it's not done right.
they've actually managed to squeeze 4 people into this one, so there you go. Brewed Coffee and VR, joined by big box team, creators of Population One, and interesting. Rendered reality. No space between the words there. This is the name of the YouTube account. Rendered reality. That one. If you're interested in. Oops. Keep forgetting to close the tabs here. I'll finish with them. Right. Okay. And the final two, but look at it here, are two more firm educators in VR. Right, David Jackson, Alicia, you. Okay, there's what's I need my glasses here. Oh dear me. Right, Doug Jacobson, Alicia Pugh, and Lindsay Hadron. A building community with BRCVR, an official virtual Burning Man experience. It was actually filmed in Altspace VR a couple of days back. And basically they're talking about building the virtual Burning Man experience. So it's a panel discussion really there. And finally, Whom Spark Salon with the VWS. Not sure that. The picture shows Tom Furness. Right, doesn't really say. Just has an event code and what have you. He's actually Tom Furness, well known. He's been pretty much. He really is the Virtual World Society part of this, and he's been apart from one of his own presentations, he's been around at pretty much the whole event. So I think that may have been a roundup thing from him, and presumably the one we accidentally popped in on a minute ago. I imagine he's at that closing event too, which must have been. I mean, I know for a fact that was started. Oh, it must have been 7 or 8 hours ago. So it's obviously It's a major closing event it is. Anyway, that's the roundup for the videos too. I mean, so that's it. That's it, James.
Oh my.
I don't know. Oh my, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what our time is like, but yeah. Don't know if you've got any thoughts on any of that.
The only thing I took a note on was smell-o-vision. I just can't
Yeah.
imagine it. It's just not my thing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, um, to be honest, I don't do as much as I used to do, but aromatherapy I quite like. I like burning oils,
Hmm.
to create a little bit of back scent in the air. And the more natural they are, the better. Sort of fruits or berries and things, but also plant sort of smells. Um, and I even have an aromatherapy burner that plugs into my computer and gets
Oh.
powered by
Hmm.
well, not necessarily a computer. It's powered by USB.
Right.
It's
Right.
that. It's that sort of thing, and it's got a little tray powered by USB, and you can mix various oils
Yeah,
into
I've,
it
I've
to
seen those
create your own
things. Yeah.
flavors. Yeah, and I like that, and I like it in the room. Now, quite frankly, if I had a virtual headset on and everything else like that, I wouldn't really, presumably I can still smell the real world, even if I can't see or hear it anymore. I can probably smell it through the headset. So whether something like that would just be burning in the room to create an enhancement to the environment, be triggered by the environment, whether it's something that needs to be attached to my visor, I don't know. Given my not very keen on wearing headsets, and if I'm
Hmm.
going to wear one, it's only going to be for 5 minutes, right?
Right. Right.
The idea, the idea that I've got a 3D smell printer attached to my nose as part of the headset, nah, I'm not having that. I'm not even having the headset as a rule.
Right. Right.
But I've played in OpenSim and yeah, actually principally OpenSim because I never really built anything in Second Life. The Great Canada Grid I had a lot. Um, I've been pretty fastidious, if you were walking along the coast on my virtual sand dunes, and then there's the ocean and stuff like that, and then there's some reeds as the sand dune gets a bit grassy.
Hmm.
I had slight wind sounds they're just invisible objects I read with sounds in them. So you could hear the rustling of the grass on the sand.
Hmm.
And as you move towards the ocean, you could hear the waves. You could hear seagulls and things like that. So that was all audio. But I always thought it really enhanced the immersion because it was the sight and sounds, of what it was. Um, you couldn't include taste and you can't include smell. But some points, if you can, I think, you would that would help the experience. And I'm thinking of something like out of home VR. Now I know it's probably all about shoot 'em ups and things like that, but imagine when you get the arcades back and we got open, out of home VR. How long before somebody opens like not a gym or a shooting gallery, but like a meditation thing where you actually put on a headset and go in real life to a major VR environment where you might be sitting on the coast or something, hearing all these noises and just meditating. That would be, a bit like a healing experience, and it would probably be promoted as that. Well, in somewhere like that, to actually burn oils or even burn incense for that matter, like we used to do at uh, rock gigs, um, enhances the atmosphere no end. And if you're burning an oil that smells like seawater or seaweed and a bit of sand or something like that that enhances the immersion, then fine. And that doesn't need to be stuck on your nose. That could just be in a room that maybe you're sharing with half a dozen other people, because like one of those big out of home experiences where you can walk around without bumping into a wall every 2 feet,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it's going to be a long while before we really get taste. We'll get smell before we get taste. Of course, you can sort of get taste through smell. I mean, for example, if you're burning something obnoxious, you're not going to want the smell, but often it's the sort of thing that gets into your mouth and you can taste the fire, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Well, I don't know, but sort of sometimes, there are some instances where you just can't avoid the smoke coming in through your nose. It goes through your mouth, your ears, and everything else. Not in an educational environment, warning people about the hazards of fire or bushfires or something. Even taste could come into it with the aroma things you
Yeah.
use. So
Well,
who knows?
I'm just telling devs out there, you need not invent smell-o-vision for James.
Right. You don't really need to for me
Don't
because I
really
take
need to
care of
do it.
this.
Yep. Yep.
See, I take it. I take over myself. I've got a
Right.
whole tray full of different
Yep. Yep.
oils, and I can combine them to get different effects. And if I'm in the mood for lighting some and getting the room all smelly and
All right. All right.
fine, and if I get it smelly to match my virtual environment, then so be it. We don't need an all-in-one solution for these things. We can
No.
all put it together bit by bit. We certainly
Sounds
don't
good.
need an all-in-one solution called the metaverse. And anyway, yeah, all you Epic Games and people who want to invent the metaverse and take ownership of it, what are you going to do about taste-o-vision or smell-o-vision or smelly tasty or whatever?
Smelly
Please,
tasty.
please, yes, yeah. Tell me what your plans are for smelly tasty, right? Because unless you've thought of such things, how dare you think you're creating metaverse, the metaverse? Anyway, enough of that. Enough of
Enough of
that.
that. Yep. I think we've done it.
Yep. I must say, in the Twitter feeds and stuff like that, I'm very pleased to see that I'm not the only one who is still going on about metaverse and metaverses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the people who are talking about come to our metaverse and things are getting black like nobody's business in Twitter, because everybody knows the metaverse is singular. Everybody knows the metaverse is an idea, and everybody knows it's not built, even remotely built yet, and would not ever belong to one party. So you can imagine the reception some of the players at the moment are getting.
Good.
The only comforting fact is that Mark Zuckerberg is not the only player who thinks he owns the world and the metaverse. Some other players are beginning to think they should have an ownership too.
All right.
Well, yeah, the deep philosophical question, of course, is if somebody comes along and manages to claim a metaverse and actually build something that constitutes a metaverse, and if that person was not the God Emperor Zuki, would I be happy or sad?
Oh, I don't know.
I want him to. Yeah, well, I'd be happy because he would have lost
Mm-hmm.
in his aspirations, but I'd probably sad because somebody else would just have done the same old dirty. Anyway, that's it. Yes, indeed. Yawn. I don't know. None of us know. We're all
Yep.
too tired to know about anything. We better call it quits, haven't we? It's goodbye from
Ah,
him.
and it's goodbye
Ah,
from him.
yes, indeed. It's goodbye from both of us. Goodbye, good night, and well, except it's not a farewell, but that sort of thing. Because we two are one. But more to the point, when it comes to XR, it comes to MR, when it becomes to VR, whether it's AR, or whether it's R. At the end of the day, you get it all from us because we
We are.
are. Yes, we are indeed. So, wishing you from both of us a very good week. Stay healthy, stay indoors, and yeah, stay healthy. Stay indoors. Enjoy summer through your window if it ever comes. Anyway, yeah, it's a hint of it here in London at the moment.
Mm.
Something I suppose. Okay, we'll be back same time, same place next week, and we will see you then. And don't forget, you can check out my name on YouTube, Malbones, for instant replays of this and other stuff too, whenever you want it. So, bye for now.